Why have I quit my job? Why have I, bought a van? And why am I going to drive around the country? Well, I'm passionate about the idea that you need to be heard. And I want to stitch these stories together across the states. We're going to find the commonalities. And it's going to be really an amazing experience. And I look forward to you joining me on the Jar. Still love that intro. Hey, Helena, how are you?
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, Helena's our next guest. Hi, everybody. My name is Ken Stearns. I'm the host and really the creator for Mental Health Today. And the show really was inspired by the video you just saw and the words that I spoke on there, which is after doing the Jar and traveling around about half the country and meeting more than 200 people, really saw the mental health crisis up close and personal, and wanted to do something about it. So started this show, started the Jar Foundation, and I'm kind of seeing where they go, where they kind of lead me. Very excited. Just finished a Kickstarter video for the overall project today, and we'll get that Kickstarter launched sometime next week or 10 days or so. And just got both podcasts just got accepted to the iHeartRadio platform today, which is a really big, for me, it's kind of a big deal. That's a high quality platform, and it's easy to get on in a way. But still, there's a lot more shows not on that platform than are. And so kind of nice that both shows are on there. One more platform, one more place for people to hear the stories, the cool stories that we're finding. Helena, welcome to this show.
Thank you.
You have a cool story. We had a nice pre-chat about 2 months ago or a month ago or so, maybe a couple months now. So excited to get you on and to share your story and to find out a little bit of how did you get here? How did you end up in the chair? And what are you guys doing? We'll get into kind of uncover some of that stuff. So welcome.
Well, sure. I mean, hi, thanks for having me. Thanks for the, being here on a celebratory day for you with the iHeartRadio bit. Congrats. I'm just excited to talk about mental health, although truthfully, those are not words that often come out of my mouth, because the little corner of the world of mental health that I'm in is peer support. Yes. And I have found that for many audiences who still today don't engage with, what we typically think of as mental health services, peer support is something that feels engaging and less scary and, something that's, okay, I'll give this a try. So when we talk about what we do and where we got, to today, as far as supportive and our services, we really just talk about peer support. So I guess that kind of leads to what is peer support?
Yeah, what is, I'll interject my own because it's perfect timing. As I went around the country and interviewed people, this terminology kind of kept coming up just a little bit. And then, like suddenly, like a little bit, and then suddenly, and I was meeting people, and a lot of them were people who had their own struggles with mental health, finding help, finding care, went through a lot, came out of it really in a good place, really believe in the care that they got, and decided to become peer support. And I was like, what is this peer support thing? I didn't understand.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I think people, if they were to kind of have some sort of, tangible vision around peer support, it's probably around Alcoholics Anonymous or coming out of, substance abuse treatment or grief support groups. Those are sort of the most commonly understood peer support, modalities. And the idea with those is that somebody with lived experience in having gone through, a period of unsteadiness or crisis or a condition that needed management and care, kind of, on the other side of it, reaches back and helps someone who is in the mire right now. And I think that notion of peer support is something that we totally celebrate and support. But at Supportive, we've actually expanded it far beyond that traditional definition, even so, because as we are in this sort of mental health crisis, not just in the United States, but globally. The number of people that are able to be affected in a one-on-one scenario with that sort of helper and the helpee just isn't enough. And so how do you make that scalable so that there can be mass population peer support? So that's what we tried to wrap our heads around with Supportive. And what we came up with was an idea that basically anyone has lived experience to share, whether it's in parenting struggles or caregiving for a sick family member, or having gone through financial hardship, or in your everyday struggles at work. Like, how do you mentally prepare for a really scary performance review or a job interview? And if we look at the range of situations and scenarios in life that people benefit from a peer who is going through something similar or has experience or brainstorming capabilities to share with you, we can create like a more cohesive society where we're reaching out and like helping each other on all types of daily life struggles. And that's really what we're all about.
Interesting. This is, it almost sounds like something called society.
Yeah. Yes. That's
in a strange way. You're almost describing humanity. It's a it's a weird idea you've come up with here.
So aim big. But yeah, you've said it. You've said the words that we don't really often say aloud, which is that society has lost some of its humanity.
Interesting.
We used to know who our neighbors were, and we kind of had like a peripheral knowledge of when they were in our lives, and hey, I didn't see so-and-so like getting the mail today. I wonder if something's wrong with them, and I'll check in on them. And that just doesn't happen anymore. All of those like fibers of society have decayed and disintegrated. And, we are independent individuals more and more. So how do you create those fibers again from scratch? By forging these little connections among people who have something in common that happens to be a vulnerability at any given moment, so that we kind of have that humanity injected back into our lives.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, as you were saying it, I was just realizing what you said, which is all that's fallen apart. We knew what neighbor knew what skills, what experience they had, what they, you knew who to call, right? Because you knew who knew what. It's a very, very much needed. How do people register? How are you building this, not the ecosystem, but the communities? And so it'd be a larger population and then communities within that. How do you structure it? How do you find people?
Yep. So great, massive questions that hopefully I can kind of.
Sorry.
No. This is awesome. I mean, there are some examples of pre-existing structures for this. Like you could imagine there being, appointment-based gatherings at, 7 p.m. on Tuesday, or people that want to talk about, like some of my examples before, the parenting or performance reviews. And we thought about doing something like that. And then we actually rejected it because we were like, that's not how life operates anymore either. You can have really good intentions that you want to join a group every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for a few weeks to kind of address a topic. But like when you feel the need to connect is at 2:00 in the morning when you can't sleep and, that anxiety of the situation is hitting you, or, like things come up last minute all the time. That's the world we live in. So, you can't make it at 7, but you could talk to someone at 6 or 8. That's life. Right. So,
and I don't think you're going to build scale with in-person meetings.
No.
Not quickly.
Not in person, and not even, digitally, because there's just only so many people that even keep online appointments now. So what we thought about was, how do you go, right straight out with enough potential people who are going to use your service immediately, that that someone could come day or night and literally at any time of day be connected to somebody, at least one other person, hopefully 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 max, who want to talk about the same thing. And so we actually started serving large enterprises with their, built-in kind of communities. And so, one of the largest like retailers in the United States is one of our clients, and they've got over 1 million people that we were able to.
Kmart. Could be somebody big.
Yeah. Imagine
1 million.
the biggest that there is, and there you go. And then we brought on some, insurance companies and, some hospital systems and, municipalities. So we've got like an entire state's worth of public employees now. And so little by little, we've been growing, or not little by little, like mega client by mega client. We've been growing this like massive base. And I think, our goal is to one day truly make this available to everyone. We'll kind of turn a corner and say, you can come free. Day or night, and it's something like that. So that's the goal. And we are working our way towards it.
So what happens if I'm an employee? Let's say I'm an employee at trying to think of maybe a Chase Bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a teller at a Chase Bank, and we have to be a client. Mm-hmm. Is this on the EAP program?
Yes and no. So we often actually integrate through their employee assistance programs or EAPs, but we also can live, as a direct access or, as a front door to that. It's not just one channel. We try to be available through many, because a lot of people are worried about, their employers knowing their identities or being able to track what they're saying. And one of the biggest like headline things about what we're doing that I should mention is that it's anonymous. So you're not coming to our site and filling out a profile or, doing a questionnaire. Like, we don't ask your name. We don't ask your phone number or email, ID number, nothing. And we have a way to make it safe, even though it's anonymous, but we want to assure people like, you may find out about this as a teller at your job.
Yeah.
But when you come here, your employer is not secretly listening in on what you're saying.
Yeah. Very cool. This part is important. And so I just can dial in to there's like a list of topics that are going on.
That would be a way to do it. And we kind of leapfrog or leapfrog. I don't know what the verb tense is.
Depends. Is it present tense or past tense? I don't know.
So one of the other innovations that we thought about very carefully in building Supportive, and it's going on, coming up on 6 years now, was that so much of mental health and healthcare in general is about like answering formulas and checking boxes and finding, you're navigating your own way to the forum for depression and the forum for anxiety. And we didn't want to do that. So we actually built from the ground up around the concept of just communicating in natural language. So you don't have to say, I feel depressed, which is a really difficult thing for a lot of people to say. You can just say, I haven't been able to focus, or I'm not feeling like myself. And we actually just ask one single question. There's no cumbersome process. So we ask the question, what's your struggle, which we've trademarked. And whatever you type, we're actually going to kind of fast track you right into a live chat that is talking about that topic. So anytime someone comes and they just chat, one word, a paragraph, it doesn't matter, anything in between, we're going to get you to the people that are talking about what you want to talk about, because we have the knowledge and the, behind the scenes intelligence to take you right there. That's it.
Years and years ago, I had the good fortune to build a website called dentalinsurance.com. Imagine what a beautiful site that was.
Yes, I can envision it right now.
Blown away that that is somebody owned, that I actually worked on the site, right? That I met the gentleman that bought. I met the gentleman that bought that, who happened to be very elderly too, which is the most amazing part. Anyway, the point of the story was, when I built it, the thing that I designed, most important for me, was to get people in to show the value so they could then trust us. And so all I asked for was a zip code. Just
Yep.
give us a zip code and tell us whether you're single, a family, tell us basically what kind of plan, the number of people, or what kind of environment you've got to insure. And then we showed you everything. And it wasn't until the very end when you paid and identified, you all that was on the back end. I don't need to capture your information if I've got value. And it's the trust on that was so powerful that the site, that unique feature is still on the site 22 years later. It's crazy.
Well, I would say that unknowingly we followed the Ken Stearns product user experience playbook, because that was exactly it. We were just like, trust is the most important thing.
Yeah, with what you're doing, especially with what you're doing.
Yes. I mean, the number of news stories that have come up of late of mental health companies sharing, pixel information with Facebook, or, worse, like data breaches. I mean, I don't know how anyone trusts anything these days. And so for us, it's paramount that our name is synonymous with like trusted, not just confidential, but anonymous, support for any mental, emotional, or social struggle.
Yeah. And that fact that you copyrighted that, what's your struggle?
Yeah, what's your struggle is that
genius. I don't know who came up with that, but that is very clever.
We tested a whole bunch of combinations of words, and it just resonated most universally, because struggle in and of itself is understood. A struggle is something that's getting you down. It's not easy to combat with, but it's not confined to mental health. And that's really what we wanted to break it down. Like, a struggle is not a mental health condition or a mental illness. A struggle is something that is causing you distress in your life. And that's what we wanted to be about.
Yeah. I'm struggling with my parents' death. It's not a mental illness. I've got something I'm trying to wrestle with.
Yep.
And like you said, probably at 2 a.m. and, find some other people somewhere in the world or in the US that are having the same experience.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
I'm a real fan of the group conversation. I think it's so healing and
thank you.
Powerful hearing other people say what you're feeling. So validating.
I would say some combination of those words that you just said are actually going to be the headline message on our website that's coming out soon. So but that just shows how much this is resonating, that you're intuitively feeling what this is about, and what we're finding that people say back to us when they've given it a try. And I think I just want to add that yes, like the talking is so cathartic, but we actually not only kind of create a valuable guided structure for these conversations. So it's not just a free for all. You're not just randomly, talking to someone, which can be very helpful. But we actually have each conversation moderated by folks that we have trained. They're undergrad or graduate psychology students, and they are facilitators. So they're not necessarily, the ones who are your peers. Your peers are the other people who've come to talk about the same thing that you want to talk about. But our moderators are able to guide the conversation from venting and, careful, active, empathetic listening into introducing coping skills, which I'll come back to, kind of, going through a collaborative problem solving exercise, bringing in some like exercises and tools and techniques that can help you, because we've got another trick up our sleeve. So we're not just matching people together to have these conversations. We're actually matching the right resources in the world to what people are expressing that they need. So, to go back to your example, it's the 2 a.m. and you're, grieving the loss of a loved one, and you're talking with other people who are grieving the loss of a loved one. We're able to actually populate the chat, using like analysis of the moving like topic discussion to say, well, here's an article that we think, has valuable information that's going to address what you're talking about. Here's a video. Here's a podcast that, talks about this.
Someone talks about grieving.
Yeah. I mean, and then here's, a journaling exercise or a worksheet, that people use to understand sort of where they are in the process. And we're bringing all of those resources in. And it's a pretty magical process for people. We've patented, we're the first people to ever create something like this. But so you're not just leaving the conversation like, oh, I had a great, 25-minute chat with people who really got me. You're also leaving with an article and a podcast link and video you can watch later. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I'd be interested. The back end must be very cool to do that.
Yeah, super sophisticated.
I've partnered with a company called Moonnox, and they're taking my transcripts and we're uploading the transcripts into an AI database, basically. And they have an interface on it, and it's similar. You can ask any question about this show on it, and basically, have they talked about this, or tell me an episode about when they talked about that, and it'll go find those quotes or give a summary if there's a lot of them, and have a film strip, maybe a visual part or exact part of the dialogue where it took place. So it's kind of cool. Very similar.
Yeah.
So AI is listening to your conversations, taking the transcript of the conversation and searching some database for the
in real time and matching
in real time,
matching other resources and services in. So
awesome.
Those resources and services can be, these tangible things, like I said, the articles and videos. They can also be community resources that might be available. So going back to your, zip code piece, we will try to locate helpful community services for people, whether it's, transportation oriented or a food bank or, the local nail biters anonymous group that they want to join, So we are trying to kind of scour and taxonomize the world of self-help to bring it to people's fingertips so that they don't have to deal with what has now become a very overwhelming and, uncurated search process online. So, you Google something and you don't know what you're going to get back, and you don't know if it's legitimate, if it's somebody's weird uncle that just, put up this video. So, our team is really doing a lot of the vetting and assessing to make sure that what we're sharing is like the most appropriate, legitimate, easily understood resource that exactly matches what you're expressing.
I have, there is the person that led me to this firm, he built the Atom Project, and it's a searchable database for mental health, free mental health resources. So I don't know if it'd be interesting. I'll send you a note later.
Yeah,
but it may be something you could look at because it's a giant resource he's put together, really large database.
Yeah,
and it'd be cool to hook up those other, the other. I mean, the good news is it's already inside some AI project. So I don't know. You guys have your own interface. This is really interesting. You're matching up. I mean, that's using AI on both ends.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is we've got
lots more AI, like, tips and tricks up our sleeves too. So
I'm sure.
We're trying to use AI to also understand in real time during the conversations, how is the conversation impacting people? How can we measure their sentiment changes? Are they receiving empathy? Do we need to dial it up a little bit? So I would say, the world is flush with AI, everything these days. And in mental health, you most hear about chatbots. And frankly, we are pretty anti, human robotic interaction, but we do think that AI can play a really valuable supporting role in forging, these authentic human connections rather than replacing them.
I'm 100% with you, Helena, on this one. I think it's really important. They should be helping the people talking to other people.
Yes.
In the back, working in the background and doing things to just make you more efficient. I've been using it. I've become a giant fan. I'm using it every day. It's great.
Yeah. And let it superhumanize us, but keep in the humanity to go back there. theme here.
to keep the human.
Yeah.
I mean, this is part of it. What you've got is very cool. Where are you at on how long have you been going, and what's the status right now, and what's next?
Yep. So we're coming up on 6 years in January, which seems
God,
unbelievable.
grinding for 6 years.
Yep. We've helped over 1.6 million individual unique users in that time. So something to be, it's been meaningful. And what's next is, I think, taking this beyond just serving English-speaking audiences.
Okay.
I mean, we've really been thinking about how do we serve native Spanish speakers, and then, several languages beyond that really, again, kind of get to the heart of which population segments are not getting the access to mental and emotional support today, and how do we focus our attention on them? So that's really our big, mission ahead of us.
Totally out of left field question. Just kind of thunderstruck with it. And I think it was, as you were saying, audiences or segments. I mean, the elderly population, that's the tsunami of gray hair in America, and the time spent alone. I mean, this must be, I don't know if it's directly related to what you do or it's a side offshoot, but it sounds like it's kind of what you're trying to do, which is not just mental health, but also other stuff.
Yeah.
Any thoughts into this area?
Yep. We are on the cusp of launching our second senior 65 plus population onto the platform. So, we see it. We think that there's a lot that can be done. And, a lot of those conversations are around, how difficult it is to make new, fresh social connections later in life. I mean, people feel it in mid-age. People feel it, when they leave college, how hard it is. But we actually have built up a lot of resources around, addressing social anxiety and kind of refinding what gave you joy earlier in life. And how do you tap back into those activities at whatever stage of life you may be in now? And so we are very much focused on not creating an addictive platform where someone who is, not as, mobile as they used to be and more often at home wants to come back to time and time again. But we're actually thinking about how do we get the information and how do we get the encouragement and motivation going so that people feel encouraged to go back out in their community and make those social connections.
It's a different puzzle to solve. Very interesting, but very much worthy.
Yeah. And people say is chat, cause we're chat based. We're live chats. Is that the right format for the 65 plus audience? And we have not seen many challenges with it. I mean, I think that, one, if you're a grandparent, you are very nimble these days in texting and video chatting with your grandkids. And so chatting online is, not a big deal. And two, we've done all sorts of not just kind of auxiliary afterthought type visual enhancements, but, for our senior audiences and the entry points that they use for supportive, it's right out of the gate, visually enhanced for them. And with other sort of, capabilities that, are not available mainstream. So we really wanted to, from day one, offer an experience that felt intuitive to seniors as well.
Nice. Yeah. There's very, very cool. Just so much you could do with this platform on different verticals and different little little communities you can develop.
It's we've got every age under the sun. I mean, we serve 13 plus. But we've got adolescents, and then we've got the senior audience. In between, we've got people who are employed, and we've got people who are caregivers at home. We've got new moms, and we've got kids, and the ability to match people regardless of their gender or age or socioeconomic status, education level, is it was intentional. You don't get that same feeling if it's a video or if it's a phone call because you hear someone's voice. Like, humans are programmed to make judgments about each other instantly. Like, is this person like me or not? Are they the same political party as me? Are they the same, do they have the same educational background as me? And texting, honestly, in a chat is the great equalizer because we are all terrible at it. Like, it doesn't matter if you have a PhD or not even GED, you kind of text the same, right? So when you're sending messages in a live chat, there's a lot of forgiveness on punctuation and spelling and whatever. And it makes everyone feel the same. You're just in the same boat. Like, it doesn't really matter. And because it's anonymous, we're not concerned about, improper relationships forming. I mean, we could have a 14-year-old girl and a professional, older man, both talking about how their dog has just passed away, how sad that is. And it's like, there's nothing inappropriate going on. These are people who are, finding connection in the moment in a safe forum that has a moderator present who's guiding that conversation. And, all these other demographic,
interesting.
They just go out the window. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I type like English second language when I'm texting.
Exactly.
I did find the great equalizer for me is I found the mic button. And now when my daughters just hate that, now I can just spill my guts into the microphone, and it's about 100 times longer. Yeah. Well, we're kind of at a good spot to kind of jump off. Boy, I feel like there's another call in here in 6 months, just to catch up.
Yeah, we'll come talk about all the new languages then. So neat. Well, thanks for having me.
I took myself off the screen for a second. There we go. How about some closing thoughts? I mean, Helen, how do people find the company if they're listening and I want my company to take this up, or, how do people find you and how do they get involved?
Yeah. So our company is called Supportive, like the adjective that we all want someone supportive in our lives. And spelling wise, it's SUPPORTIV. We're missing that essential E that would make us a real word. It's kind of the way startups get spelled. But you can come to supportive.com and we're going to have a new website any day now and lots of ways to click and, ask for a call or an email or a meeting. So we will be happy to talk to you.
I love it. And I've already and you heard here, we gave away the website title a little bit somewhere you have to listen to the whole episode and it's buried in there, but some of the key phrases are buried inside there.
Yes, exactly.
I blew the cover.
Happily. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Well, like you said, very intuitive. And I'm just following, what I would assume is naturally happening on the calls and what people would feel.
Yep.
And that empowerment of, the two things. It's so cool because you're being heard, and you're allowed to hear other people say what you're feeling. And I mean, those are some powerful healing things right there, because Absolutely. we feel alone, in our worst moments when you're struggling, you feel like, this is your problem and no one's got it.
Yep. It's almost like your brain circuitry, when you're feeling like you're struggling, your brain just goes and it kind of has you forget that you can, reach out for help. And so we're bringing that back. We're bringing that, jarring, that memory that says, okay, there's other people around you that are here and know exactly what you're going through. And we are here to support you.
And be able to send that chat and get started. Really cool. Yeah. Helena, thanks for being a guest.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated. Thanks everybody for listening and supporting Mental Health Today. You can find us on iHeartRadio and all the other cool platforms out there. Helena, stick around. I'll see you in about 30 seconds. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, loose, baby.
But we're about to go and make this vessel with these great professionals in public glass. We're not part of the community, but we're from the outer family of glass blowing. Yeah, we're going to go make a magical giant jar with optic lenses so that if you turn it, it changes all the time. So if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change.